And thankfully, because my checkup's still at 11 tomorrow, I can actually stay for quite a while. Oopsie, that's not the screen I wanted to share. That's just a template for my signals. But yeah, hey Fonze114, welcome to the show. I'm Langstrom, so it's a pleasure to meet you. And if you have any uh, questions about indicators or anything, just let me know. But right now, as per routine, we are looking at some fundamentals before we make any decisions today. So we did drop a little bit. I believe in terms of fear, we were at 26 yesterday. So we dropped to 25, which coincides with your Bitcoin drop. Now, it's important to note that even though we dropped by one, there have been times where, for example, greed. We dropped all the way down to 26 from like 60 after like the drop from 94 to 91. And so it's really interesting that we're not getting such a drastic drop in fear, which means there is some conviction still within the market. And as you guys know, I am contrarian in nature, so I do like to see that. Now, if we look at the liquidation maps here on the 1 day, we do see that there are more liquidations stacked above us, but the clusters of leverage on the long side are still quite big. So this could mean that we continue to drop just to get these clusters of people who are over leveraged and therefore getting a lot of liquidity and let liquidity build to the top side. If we go to the 7 day, we'll notice that even though there are still some clusters here, we don't have that much liquidity left to the downside. Even on the 30 day, we were once higher in terms of leverage for the bottom side, but now the upside has taken that leverage. So based on the 30 day liquidation levels, we can see that we could possibly visit 84 down to 83, and 83 is where we have a Bitcoin entry posted God knows how long ago. So that is an interesting point to check. So we'll basically revisit what happens at 83 potentially. But the TA is going to tell us whether we do go down to 83. But right now we can see that we are after this cluster of leverage right over here, and that brings us to at least 84.6 in terms of what the fundamentals are showing us. Now, if we go to the RSI heat map, let's pull up the 12 hour. We can see we are weak. There are some coins that are um, sort of outliers. Of course, you have gold and silver, so XAU, XAG. There are some weird ones as well, like STG. But we kind of don't want to, we might not want to touch those for now. Uh, if you look down here to the bottom side to the oversold, there are some interesting coins over here. So basically, your top 50 are almost at oversold from week. So you have the likes of BNB, BTC, AVE, or Ave, depending on how you want to pronounce it. You have Ondo, you have Tau. We also have a long on Tau coming. Ethereum. Let's see who else is here. Render sort of down as well, and our render trade is in drawdown, unfortunately. With Dot. So all of these coins are sort of on the oversold side or nearing oversold, and that gives us at least some hopium that we are going to head up eventually. Now, let's go to the liquidation heat map. So this is Bitcoin on the 24-hour chart. We do see that there's another hotspot around 87. So on yesterday's stream, for those who were present, you'll know that the liquidation heat map was showing about 88,000, and we basically wiped that out with this move right over here. And so because of that, right, the fact that we have another one at 87,000 does tell me that we're likely to continue our move to the downside. If we zoom out to the 48-hour, we can see that it is sort of a hot spot on the 48-hour. Zoom out to the 3 day. There's nothing left. There's not a lot left, but we have such a big hotspot around 93.5. So a possible DCA in would be might or actually would be a very smart move. And we can see that if we zoom out to the 1 week, our hotspots actually extend to around 96, 97, 98,000. So I do think we still head there eventually. And eventually is really not that comforting because it's eventually, but it is what it is. So 2 week, not that useful. And then 1 month, very macro, we see that there is liquidity all the way down to about 86,000, which I did say is possible for us to visit. Now, I do want you guys to note that the cumulative long leverage is 2.2 on the monthly up against 3.27. So it's about 1 to 1.5 in terms of ratio. And so until we get these hotspots, I really don't think we're headed up just yet. So that about does it for fundamental analysis. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Let me look at chat. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I am feeling better. So I am still partially deaf, but the deafness isn't that bad anymore. Like I can better hear myself from my left ear. Um, and yeah, tomorrow's going to be a checkup and my phototherapy. So it's going to be pretty eventful. Uh, But let me pull up TradingView, which is the exciting part. Okay. Let me just correct this right here. Let's see what's up on the charts. All right, so right. So 12-hour Bitcoin. Actually, let's look at the 12-hour first because it's interesting in my opinion. And just for the sake of clarity, I'm going to put this in the signals template just so we can just see price action a little better, right? Sometimes you do want to get clarity over information. And what you guys will notice, or what we'll notice, is that we actually did break out of our bear flag or the ascending channel. Now, typically, this is quite scary, right? Because if you simply use traditional metrics of drawing projections and you place that here, that does place you right from the point at where it broke. That places you all the way to 68k. So pretty scary. And the thing is, 68k from 120 is about a 50% cut, right? So it does make sense. Old bull runs of yesteryear have all done about a 50% pullback before going on to the next move. But I do want to offer maybe some relief on why it's unlikely for me that we head to 68k as much as people think we are heading to 68k. For one, right, if we look at almost every time frame on the CPO plus that we've got at this point in time, you'll see we're nearing the bottom extremity, we're nearing oversold on the 12-hour, and we're bottoming out here on the 12-hour as well. If we go all the way to the 1 day, we'll also see something quite similar. So let's load. So we do still have some move, but unless this is some very strong, impactful move, I really don't think you're just going to drop all the way to 68 from here. You do have plenty of support still. You have your 83k support and your 80k support over here, and your CPO plus will have gone all the way down and gone to your fluid zero line on the 1 day and most likely bounce, because our MVP ribbon is saying that although momentum right now is bearish, it's still overall bullish by being above our fluid zero line. We go to the 1 week, and this is probably the most challenging 1 week chart that we've ever had because of the fact that the last time we went oversold, I'm sorry, this is Blowfin, but if we go to Binance, the last time we were oversold, I think we have to go to Spot just for more information to show up. There we go. But the last time we were oversold was over here in December 10, 2018. And you can see that when we did go oversold, we still eventually went back down. So if we're being generous to ourselves and we're plotting it from here, I'm going to use a line first just to better plot that. So if we're being generous to ourselves, we did end up going below where we went oversold. And what's important to know is from this point in time, we had a tiny pump, then we went back down, revisited. This time we went oversold led to about a 1,700% move after the span of just 2 years. Right, and we haven't gone oversold since that point in time. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be a a crystal ball, right? Indicators aren't crystal balls, but they give us a sense of clarity and potentially inference, right? So if we are oversold right here and we plot it right where we placed it last time, so we went oversold here with the triangle, so right over here, right? There's still likelihood that we go back down all the way to here. In fact, we revisited that level. It's possible we go back down here. But the fact of the matter is, the last time we went oversold, we had a 1,700% move, right? This time we are oversold. Conditions are slightly different, but if you look, money outflow was very strong at the point that we went oversold the last time, and we're experiencing that right now. Granted, we didn't have an MVP ribbon back then, but if you look, we are curving. So, my point is, while it is very easy to be bearish right now, you have a lot of support below you, and you have a lot of confluence telling you that if history repeats itself to an extent, and we're using our CPO plus, we're using our chart prime indicators, which have been just a godsend in this market, and we've yielded thousands of percentages in ROI because of our CPO plus. It tells us that when we get to this region, if we get to this region, right, this is basically your make or break region. And the fact that we have a long somewhere at 83, which happens to be the bottom part of this ascending channel, I think that there is still more to run. Even if we don't get to a new all-time high, right? Even if we don't get past 125, it's still likely that we head to at least the 200-day moving average at 105, and even this resistance about 109. We don't have to break all-time highs to basically get a little bit more upside. But what we do want to see right now is, or what we are seeing right now rather, is that there is confluence from our fundamental analysis saying that liquidity is stacked to the upside. There's confluence on TA that's telling us that on a macro sense, liquidity is to the upside and we want to head to the upside. But that means that we got to shake out whoever's been able to purchase over here, right? Because the people who got over here and got over here, they're still chilling with their profits. So let me make this smaller. People who entered right here, they're chilling with their profits. People who are entering over here, they're chilling with their profits. People who entered over here, they're chilling with their profits as well. And we want to basically kill those people before we make any meaningful move to the upside and then sell off. Now, I said this yesterday, but so many institutions and so many federal, not federal reserves, but like so many nations are now holding cryptocurrency as assets. And so they have vested interest to essentially keep your money or keep the price of cryptocurrency somewhat stable. Crypto is the most volatile asset class, and yet they do have a vested interest to basically keep it at an acceptable volatility so that it doesn't outright destroy their economy or their holdings. And so that just tells me, as a contrarian, that we are likely to see a bigger push to the upside. Obviously, because of my strategy, it means that I might not always be 100% right. That's fine. Right now on the tracker, I am 77.78% correct as of the moment. For how many trades has it been? Let me just double check. Across 64 trades ever since October, I am 77% right. So I'd say that the track record at least shows that that my logic, or the contrarian logic, the countercyclical logic of banks make a lot of sense when it comes to essentially going long. But anyways, let's go back to BTCUSD.P Blowfin and actually look at what we are seeing on a more micro sense, because the title of this live is scalping and not um, swinging. Although, genuinely, for the past couple of lives, we've just been swinging, and they've been a little bit more successful because of how weird the market is right now. But yeah, Bitcoin 1 hour, heavy money outflow, bullish divergence. You've also got compression to an extent over here, so you are compressing. We also see that there is some sort of squeeze happening on the MVP ribbon right over here. So our fluid zero line is headed towards the downside, and therefore it's squeezing up against the ribbon. So if the ribbon is able to explode past the fluid zero line, you're likely to get an explosive move to the upside, maybe at least to 91,769. But actually, let me check who's in the audience. So, hey Armac, hey Vamshi, welcome Portia. Uh, I love your name. Then again, I guess you're a fan of Portia, unless your name's actually Portia, which is pretty cool. If your name's actually Portia. Oh man. Okay, where were we? Yes. So Bitcoin oversold on the 5 minutes. Might take a small short, or like a scalp short on Bitcoin, but we'll see. Uh, but I don't like that the 1 hour is telling you to go long. So we'll just have to see how that pans out for us. Let's look at Ethereum. So Ethereum fell all the way down. We did get above the dynamic and quantum reactor. So for those who are new here, I treat the reactors like moving averages, and the dynamic is my short moving average, and then the quantum is my longer moving average. So the fact that we got above it is signaling some bullishness. And I mean, yesterday I did say we're likely going to go sub 3K on Ethereum, and that's what happened. Let me reload the 1 hour chart here for Ethereum so we can get our fluid zero line. I mean, the 1 hour does kind of look like a double bottom. My only issue with this so-called double bottom is that it's not really structurally too strong unless you're able to get past this neckline. But we'll just have to see, because unlike Bitcoin, we aren't getting that squeeze yet here on the MVP ribbon. Oh, I forgot about Fe. So I mean, it would have killed us, but if we survive that volatility, then we would be in massive profits right now, which is kind of freaky. But yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, that's not what we want to look at right now. Let's look at Solana. Oh, hey Aya Perry, it's been a while. Welcome back. Good morning, or at my time it's good evening. So, but yeah, I will say Solana's looking pretty decent from the 1 day perspective. You could continue to head down, right? Go oversold on the 1 day. That would put you at 117. We have an entry at about 115, so could be interesting. We could really just move this over here, right? But we'll just have to wait and see for Solana. Let me change this to our scalping look, because right now, mind you, it's 11 minutes before market open. Market suddenly pushes to the upside. That's pretty sketchy, because if anything, that signals that we're likely going to see a dump. Now, if the market is pumping right before market open, right, that means that someone is inflating prices, trying to build up maybe like retail, because they're down, now they're up, now they're trying to do some late longs, and they're probably gonna dump it back down to about where we started pre like was that 9 a.m. So, maybe bring it back down to 126. But genuinely, we'll have to see at market open, which is in 10 minutes. Um, hmm So all of our the indicators that tell us where price might want to go, like the chick magnet, is saying that we want upside, but right now it's kind of difficult to determine if that's actually where we're gonna go for now because of the fact that I do think we still have some room to head down, which is why I also went risk free with Ondo and XRP, as you guys know. So Ondo's actually in another falling wedge according to market dynamics. So if we delete our initial channel, it does look like it's in a pretty long falling wedge. Um, the 1 day does look pretty good to enter along, but if we continue to go down, then we can maybe enter it here. But I kind of want a little bit more confluence, actually, like a point at which we could enter confidently. So, okay, places you here. It's pretty low, but I mean it's something, right? Because the 1 day could continue moving down. Maybe the 4 hour has something. Okay. I mean, it's really not that useful because it's kind of near price action. You continue to the downside. What happens if we change this to 8 hours, 6 hours? That's just 6 hours. That's also not too meaningful. Actually, let's do another technique. So this is where the wick starts. We draw it down 64%. So 80% of 64% is going to be 6.4 multiplied by like about 52 maybe. So I mean we touched about 80% already. But if we want to continue down, we're likely going to go to 90%. So that would be about 58-ish. It's around here. Oh, this area right here is where market makers would like to basically enter because low, what do you call this? This is low money flow, low deficit, or delta. So market makers like to enter at this point because it doesn't take too much volume to uh basically reverse price action. And you can see it's sort of what happened here at like 1.15, right? You got a reverse right there around this point. So seeing this means that you're really likely to get a reversal. So I think this is another long we could possibly take, but I'll leave that for now because we still have 6 minutes before market open. Leave that for now, just to simmer and stew a little bit. Then break out to the 200-day moving average. I mean, it could be something. But yeah, to think that we have Ondo at bear market prices is crazy. But that is a very good opportunity for us. Let's look at gold. Um, you know, at this point, it's really funny. Uh, kind of hyperinflated. Silver's not faring that well compared to gold. Um, But at the same time, because gold is in sort of that price discovery mode, I'm not too inclined to mess with it. Granted, if we go to the 12 hour, we are overbought. But if you look here on your dynamic and quantum reactor, that's a bullish cross on the 12 hour. So that tells me that there could still be more upside to gold. Uh, and while, you have predictions wanting you to go down to about 4665.9, I think if even if you go down here, that's just basically a retest, right? Of this swing, right? That's just a retest of the swing. And you could easily do another leg up from there. But checking how we're still really high on the fluid zero line like this, that's kind of scary. But that could really just be a correction because we have broken below our fluid zero line and then we just quickly recovered. Right, so that would translate to this area right here, break below, and then nice retest, got your bottoming bars around this point, and then you just shot back up. So I'm going to set an alert for gold, right? 4661.6 potentially taking a long. We'll see how that goes, because I mean we were overbought last time when we crashed like this, but it took two overboughts and a bearish div. Excuse me, for it to be really meaningful in any capacity. Silver, on the other hand, let's lower the time frame, or the higher time frame, to see what we're dealing with. So it's not really that meaningful at the moment. 3 minutes before market open. So let's look at precious metals. Symmetrical triangle. It's kind of confused right now. If this will get you off subject, you can have you ever heard the one candle rule? The high and low from 9:30 to 9:35 a.m. Yes, I have heard of the one candle rule. Uh, the thing about sort of the one candle rule, though, at least from how I understand it, and when I was trying to basically play around with it, is that I find that it's more meaningful to see how price action reacts if it bound between the previous day high and previous day low. At least that's what I find is better. But uh, if it works for your trading, then it works. Uh, I'm not too keen on it just because when I was testing it out, it didn't work as well for how I do my trading. But yeah, actually, do you use it? Okay, 2 minutes before market open. Let's see how Bitcoin is doing. At least on the higher time frame, it's still doing pretty okay. Lower time frame, like the 5 minutes, looks like it wants to head back down. Let's see how Ethereum's doing. Same thing. Same thing with Solana. Same thing with XRP. Same thing with Doge. On those doing something. Thank you. I'm still trying to find a style that works. I've tried it, but I'm still confused. Yeah, no. I think it works best with like a scalping style. So maybe stock scalping samurai could chip in on the scalping style. But for me, I don't find it as useful because of the fact that, crypto's so volatile and crypto's more prone to like fake outs and whatnot. So the one the one candle rule isn't that great, at least for us, because we're way too volatile. Whereas, for example, with forex and uh, what other things do you trade? But at least with those guys, they're not as volatile, and so it's better. It's easier to basically predict using the one candle rule. Uh, but yeah, typically, and another thing that I've learned, at least when it comes to trading, it's really best to just wait 30 minutes at the minimum after market open, because when market opens, the first 30 minutes are the craziest, and so it extends to 1 hour and whatnot. So for me, it's not really that meaningful when you're still at the it's not really the apex of volatility, but you're at the beginning of a volatile market, and that's when you go, okay, you know what? I'll go long because this candle engulfed the last candle. Then suddenly the next candle just completely engulfs the first candle that was made from 9:30 to 9:35. So at least that's how I look at it. No worries. I mean, well, starting out, trying every strategy is definitely one path, right? Because it's really there's no shame in basically exploring and trying out as many strategies as you can like muster or find online, right? Because at least my strategy was developed by trying out as many strategies and looking at as many creators and seeing how they trade. But how I sort of landed on my strategy is from my background as well as an economics undergraduate, but also just the general things that I've found to work with chart prime indicators. So seeing if okay, this condition is met, I'll go long. This condition is met, I'll go long. This condition is met, I'll go short. It's really that trial and error. So don't don't be too scared about trying as many strategies or maybe mix and matching the different techniques that you learn along the way, because you know a strategy is a lot like a toolbox. You can have as many tools as you can, screwdriver, hammer, wrench, whatnot, but knowing which ones to use in the situation and getting sort of a general rotation of those tools, that's what you're really looking for. Because, for example, earlier with Ondo, oh, actually, no, VR on Ondo, right? It's really difficult to determine what entry could work if the CPO plus market dynamics is not really giving you anything. So, because of classical theory, where if you have such a long volatile wick, you're likely to get around 70 to 90, 70 to 80, 70 to 90% of that wick, that provides me with some reliable place to enter. So that's something that, from experimentation, from research and watching other people, that's what I've learned, right? If we go over here, oh, so we are headed up. That's fantastic. Okay, let's wait. Okay, this is the one candle rule, right? Because we're essentially going to see how this candle closes in 15 seconds. But notice how we are overbought here on the 5 minutes, and if this candle leaves a very long wick to the upside, then we're likely to continue down. But if it doesn't, we could continue up. Let's see what we do here, because this point is resistance at around 90k. Let's see how render's doing. Render's back. Render is back. But yeah, yeah, exactly. So this could be like a nice like candle to leave a wick, and it leaves a bigger wick, but the one candle rule is really difficult to follow, at least for cryptocurrency. Um, but anyways, back to what I was saying to RMAC. Don't be afraid to experiment and to try as much of the tools and techniques that you learn along the way, because trading is really just figuring out what works for you. It's a very personal, uh, it's a very personal sort of setup, right? There are times where, for example, I don't agree with the analysis that Nas or Runair makes, but I know that they've tried their strategy out and it works for them, and so and it works. I mean, they have a pretty high win rates, right? So even if I disagree with the analysis, I can't argue that the system works. Uh, and that's sort of what we're trying to develop here. You guys can have a totally different approach, totally different analysis, totally, well, not totally different set of tools because we're using chart prime, but a different way of using those tools, and I might not agree with it, but if there is rationale, if there is sense, if you have tested it both back testing and live testing, then I can't really argue. So one thing I do, at least for live testing, right? Because back testing is relatively easy. Um, for live testing, I literally just leave these projections, for example, and then see if they hit, and then we'll see where it goes. I do recall in one of our last live streams, I was like, oh, you know what? Let me just put a long here at 1.88 and then see where it goes. And then that long ended up going all the way up here, and then now we're crashing back. And I said it at this white line. I'm like, it'll be fun if we just go 1.88 and then heads up. So that's how you just live test. You literally just look at the market, put a long position or a short position if it meets your criteria. So for me, the criteria that I was looking at, excuse me, ooh, I don't know what's causing my burps, but the criteria I was looking at back then was like this bullish div, right? Just seeing where it was going and then heads up. So if we go back to some of, no, I think I deleted the old projections on the chart prime live template, so I don't know if we'll chart prime live layout, so I'm not sure if we're gonna see it anymore. But do I have some old ones? Maybe in Palantir? No, I don't think I have it. What's up on the layout? Maybe a stock. No, a stock. Oh, this is Korean stocks. Okay, that's all. Let's go to PLTR. I guess my things are gone. MSTR maybe. Oh, it fell harder. Right. So this is a projection I made, and it failed, and that's fine. Let's see if I can find any more useful. I guess it's not here. That sucks. Huh. Yeah. No. Not here. I guess I really don't have any projections that I've really left behind, because I kind of deleted the ones in the chart prime live. Maybe there is one for ETH that I left behind. I guess not. But okay. Well, we'll make examples in the future. But like I said, if something meets your conditions, then just put a projection there, see if it works, and that's how you live test. Let me see who else is here. Oh, hey Dimitar, welcome. All right, let's look how the market's doing. So render seems to be doing okay again. Right. Let's see if we can stay above or engulf the previous or like our progress in the next couple of hours. See how Bitcoin's doing again. Okay. Let's see if we can maintain this momentum head going up. Okay. Looks like we're gonna head up for today. Golden hour close in 15 minutes. Let's check. Let's have a look at a couple different markets here. Okay, I just need a layout with, let's call it dominance. USDT.D. Let's have a look at this. And then let's do 12-hour. Check market says we go down on USDT, but unless this is a more convincing push to downside, then we're likely going to continue bleeding. If I go to BTC, BTC.D, let's look at Bitcoin dominance, see how Bitcoin's going to affect alts. Does look like we're also getting a decrease in Bitcoin dominance, so alts are likely going to do their own thing eventually if we can get to that 59% projection. But momentum is still going to the upside. So right now, let's look at USDT.D again. Your 12-hour is signaling a continued move to the upside, and there have been instances where let's see here if I can grab a circle, where when you get something like this, you do get an engulfing candle next, right? Good example, I guess. Let's look here and see if there are any good examples of an instance like this. Oh, something like this right here, right? Where you get two candles followed by a line of three, and continue to bleed, and then suddenly you drop and drop and drop. So looks like we're getting something similar here. Granted, it's not exactly 1-to-1, because here we have a wick to the upside signaling that people did end up moving their money or making their crypto into US dollar tether, but now people are buying again, and US dollar tether is sort of shrinking by dominance. So if more people are buying cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, this is going to drop, and it says that we are going to get a drop soon. But if not, then we are going to continue to bleed. If we zoom out to the 1 day, see if there's anything useful here. It does say that we're going to continue to the upside, but we are sort of facing a big resistance here, and we are overall bearish. Let's go to the 1 week. The 1 week is looking like it's overall bearish. I mean, you did get overbought, and you are still pointed down on your CPO plus. Your MVP ribbon is starting to transition to the downside, so sort of supports the idea that we're going to continue to the downside. It looks like Bitcoin is pushing. Oh no, it's just renders pushing up while Bitcoin's pushing down. So I mean, we are seeing that slight detachment from alts that we saw earlier from our Bitcoin dominance. So let's go back to BTC, see what's up. Really nothing too useful at the moment. Glad to see that our render trade is back in profits. Just quite the drawdown, but glad to see that we are still in profits at the moment, and potentially we could continue to the upside, considering that the 4-hour is at the lower extremity, and there is an incentive to basically push to the upside from here. Man, if I was looking at render, it would have been so easy to short this. I mean, it's just one overbought, red triangle, and then just a quick move down below the fluid zero line. Really easy to short it. But I wasn't looking at render at the time. I really only got the alerts from render when we were over here, and I was like, okay, this is gonna go overbought, so we can enter at the FVG. But looks like we wanted this FVG and not the one over here. But all's well that ends well, ideally. So Bitcoin is currently testing that bottom part of the channel that we were in, and there could still be more downside. Uh, we're not oversold on the CPO plus. I mean, it's not a condition to being oversold is not entirely like a necessary condition for it to be the bottom, but it sure helps if you're oversold. Um, like for example, here oversold, it wasn't the bottom, but when we got to the bottom here, we did get a bullish divergence and two other points of confluence. So that's pretty useful. And we also got basically the end of our bottoming bars, right? We had a nice up to the bottoming bar and then a down to the bottoming bar. So that signals that there's exhaustion to the bottoming, which allows you to enter with confidence. Same here. Now here we are getting those bottoming bars, but our MVP ribbon isn't really fully extended to the downside. Again, doesn't need to be fully extended, but it does help inform us or increase the likelihood that we are going to the upside from that point. So if there's still room for downside on the 12 hour, right, you could be looking at this liquidity block, right? And then you'd be completely overextended on your fluid zero line, on your MVP ribbon below the fluid zero line, and you're able to basically get your squeeze. So honestly, it looks like we should have shorted from here instead of taking along here. But if we go here, I'm taking that. I'm basically gonna skip this long all the way over here. That's probably what I'm gonna do. But yeah, for now, let's leave that and look at the micro. So it does look like we couldn't sustain the move. Now we still have 10 minutes or 8 minutes rather to see if this is more of a V recovery, if this is just, where's my tool? This is just a boop boop boop, right? Because if it is just this, then we get to close pretty strong on your 1 hour. If not, then that's selling pressure, that's weakness, and we're likely going to continue headed down. But I kind of want to bet, at least for the following few days, that that because our MVP ribbon is squeezing on the 1 hour, I do want to bet that we at least get back to our initial entry from before at like 93K, and then we can like assess and maybe take a short from there. Oh wait, why did I encircle that? I meant to encircle this. So yeah, but this is compression, so likelihood that we do at least get up. Let me check who is in call, but it looks like it's, oh, Jabrignac. Hey, welcome, buddy. It's been a while. But yeah. Okay, hold on, guys. I will just turn off cam, get a jacket, wear it, and yeah, it's freezing because I'm seated right against the AC. Okay, I'm back. Uh, okay. Ooh, thank goodness this is such a thick jacket or hoodie. Hey, it's really cold. uh, actually, do you guys use your AC for to like make the house colder, or do you guys make it warmer? Just just curious because at least over here it's exclusively to make things colder rather than warmer. I'm recording this right. Okay, yeah, I am recording. But yeah. Okay. I mean, if we get that recovery, right? This is going to be a 1 hour that's in our favor. Oh my goodness, I muted my microphone. I've been talking for the past like 3 minutes. Oh. Anyways, it looks like we're we're getting this very strong engulfing 1 hour candle, putting us back to where we were at 12 a.m. No, 12 p.m. Today. So literally deleting the work that the past 10 hours were doing, unless magically we just dump. That would be spectacular if we just did that. 50 seconds. 5 minutes did get a bullish. Is technically a bullish cross, right? Quantum dynamic above quantum, green green. Although this is currently testing, but let's wait for the close. Come on, stay above 89.7. That would be great. Render is pushing really strong with a big engulfing candle, so thank goodness for render. My only open trade at the moment. Okay, 14 seconds, 13 seconds. Ideally, we want a stronger close, not like this on the 5 minutes. But, sometimes you can't help it. Come on. You know what? We can take a close like that. Oh, okay. We can take a close like this, but let's review what we have here on the 1 hour. So, first of all, Fluid Zero Line and MVP Ribbon are now sort of, or the MVP ribbon, the MVP ribbon is trying to get above the Fluid Zero Line. Whew, okay. So MVP ribbon's trying to get above the Fluid Zero Line. It has a lot of room to go. So I do think that we can at least blast to maybe 91.6, right, around this FVG point. So I'm going to set an alert here, see what it's like after that. And I'll set an alert starting at about 93.4 and within this FVG right here at 94, as well as your 618, because it's likely that we get rejected at any of these levels headed up. Right now, though, I'm gonna wait maybe for like a nice retest of the 5 minutes, and then maybe we can scalp enter a long, uh, and we can do it here live because it's been a while since we did any real scalping. Uh, so I really like this. Yeah, I guess. Okay. Render's pushing up. 15 minutes is overbought, so kind of scary, but 4 hours does look like it wants to head up. So we can let it chill on that. Hey Shell, welcome to the show. Right now we're just okay. Right now we're just watching the market push up. I'm going to actually we should probably check how the FA changed. Oh, not this one, but okay, this one. So this is BTC. Let's go to the 24-hour. So we looks like we are headed up towards the upper targets right now, but we do have these big hotspots at 87. So I do think that any big move to the upside like right now might be short-lived at the moment. Let's look at the liquidation levels. So this will look like 30-day. Okay, so suddenly this increased, it seems. Yeah, this increased, and we are going for these small clusters of leverage on the upside. Okay, yeah. Our average RSI moved from weak to neutral. Okay, let's go back here. Mhm. Back to 90,000. Oh, hey Daga. Welcome. Welcome. You're not late. There's still 53 minutes on the show. I mean, I was telling everyone at the start that I did think that we were going up. Like, I was making a whole point about how it looks like we're headed up, but then our hotspot has just been hit at 90. We still have more hotspots. Let me double check. We still have more hotspots around 91 ish. So I'm really just setting alerts for these levels like 91.6 and seeing what happens from there. But if we look here at the 1 hour, your fluid zero line and your MVP ribbon is just battling it out. So it was squeezing it, and then now your MVP ribbon's able to basically go up. So something like our render trade has just been doing well. It's doing pretty bad earlier, but now it's doing pretty well. And yeah, so oop, that's the microphone. Don't want to hit that. I do think that 91.6 might be a place to take a short, right? We'll see. We'll see what happens when we get there. And hopefully we get there before the 1 hour ends because today's a 2 hour show, which is thankfully now possible because I am not as deaf as I was and I'm not suffering from a very terrible headache every 5 minutes. Like, man, I was fearing for my life when I first got like the ear infection because if if any of you guys, I'm sure you guys drive, but for those who maybe don't drive too often, right? You need a lot of focus on the road, and even the tiniest things that can distract you, if you're not like intentional or you don't actually want that distraction, it just triggers like a fight or flight that you're just like freaking out in the car, right? So when I was driving to the clinic to basically get my ears checked by a doctor, the headaches were just so painful, and it's just so annoying because you have to like keep your eyes open at all times, but then there's just like a pain in your head, and I was just, oh my goodness. I don't know if I'm gonna make it to. Oopsie. I don't know if I'm gonna make it to the clinic unscathed, right? Because you got to control the brake and everything. It was so scary, but I'm alive because I'm here. So all's well that ends well, I guess. And no, actually, the most insulting thing was, as the nurse was asking me like what I'm experiencing, right? Because they need to write it down. She was, she said in Tagalog, "Masakit no," which is like it hurts, right? And I'm like, clearly I am in excruciating pain. Can you not see it in the way that I'm like closing my eyes? I'm like punching my own like thigh or something. Is it not obvious that I am in so much pain? And then she was just like, "All right, you can take a seat." Hey, little fish. Oh my god. Hi. It's been a while. Yes. Yeah. Driving a car or motorcycle with a headache is the worst thing ever. It feels like you're gonna do something really dumb. But at the same time, if I didn't, then I wouldn't have gotten my ears checked. But yeah, welcome. You're not late. This is a we still have 49 minutes on the show, so this is a 2-hour show. Thank goodness. Wednesdays will go back to being 2-hour shows. Tuesdays I'm thinking 1 hour 30 minutes, and then we'll see if I can do a third show on Thursday moving forward, because right after this I'm gonna watch the markets, right? But I'm also gonna be prepping for law school. Actually, hold on, give me a sec, guys. Let me grab my thing. Okay, so nothing's gonna change. I'm still gonna trade in law school because otherwise, how else am I gonna make money, right? Somewhat, gotta feed it myself and pay for tuition. But I just want to show you guys what I've been up to alongside my ear infection and trades. So, so I basically have to go through this entire book right here. So it's pretty thick, and the words are like pretty small, right? So this is my law prep book, and this is like where I write down what I'm learning from this, right? And yeah, I mean, it's just been fun so far. Uh, some of these words I've never ever seen in my life. Like there's Latin, so like prima facie. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I just know what it is. And was another one that I found really funny. Um, where is it? Desultory. There's also, is it ebullient? Yeah, so very fun word. So currently working on vocabulary. Then from there I'll be doing antonyms, synonyms, uh, connotations, and then essay writing. Then I'll do math. Math is really easy, so I'm not too worried about math. And then there's logic and reasoning after. But yeah, super super fun so far. Super stoked. My test is in a month, so yeah, yeah, I like it. It's a really small book. It's thick but small, just the way books should be, thick and small. Yeah. Anyways, uh, let's see what else is here. Yeah, looks like the crowd's coming in at this time. Hey, Uncle Pips, it's been a while. Hey, Madrina, welcome to the show. Uh, yeah, so right now we are just watching the markets. Look, we could possibly take a short at 91.6 depending on how the MVP ribbon is acting, right? But we are getting above our fluid zero line now. Render trade is just pumping right now, so very happy about that. I mean, that 4-hour candle, if it closes like that, that's just gonna be a very powerful engulfing, especially if it gets above this wick. So right now, render's technically in a no trade zone because it's above the dynamic and the quantum reactor. If it closes like this with a wick, that's gonna be annoying. But at the very least, the render trade is in profits again, which is fun. Hey, oh Renair, hi. I think, is this the first time that hi. It's lovely having you here. Yeah, welcome. Yeah, thank you so much for dropping by. I'm glad you're here. Actually, I was just like, if you scroll up, Armac was like talking about strategies, and I was just saying like, our approach is very different, or it's not too different, but they're different. There's clearly a nice fine line between how I approach my analysis and how you approach your analysis, and I think we've made that clear. But I was just saying that when it comes to strategies, it's important that it just works, and you've tested it and you're comfortable and you win with it. It doesn't have to be a copy of sort of my strategy or your strategy, right? And the fact that you can still have trades and a great win rate despite having very different approaches, that just tells you that trading is a very personal thing. So yeah, if maybe you can add on to that, since RMAC is RMAC still, no, RMAC is gone, but yeah, but yeah, it's very fun having you here. I think the last time anyone dropped by was it's like before Christmas, so it's been a while. Yeah. Oh, before Christmas? Uh, mm, man, New Zealand. No, in Christmas I was here. Well, I mean, there was just a lot of masses back and forth. Yeah, New Year was when a lot of people got drunk. I was in New Zealand, and those guys can drink. It's kind of crazy, like the amount of um. I like walked through four Irish pubs. Like there are at least four within a 5 minute walking distance from my hotel. Like four Irish pubs. They got like Teeling whiskey, Johnny Walker, and everything you can think of in an Irish pub. Yeah. Yeah, Bitcoin set it up. Oh man, you guys are typing a lot. I'm kind of scared of how long. Yo, Mr. Nobody, bro. Cool. It really feels like I was there. Same thing. Yeah. I mean, we're both in the Philippines, so man. Uh, oh, Ethereum's. Oh, why am I? I have the drawing tool. That's annoying. What do you see, BTC? Okay, so I know we have very different. Oh, BTC DOM. Okay, let's actually go to BTC DOM. BTC.D. Let's go. I do 1 day. Oh, that's not the 1 day. Well, either way, the 1 week kind of told me what I wanted to see, but essentially, I mean, there's still ways for BTC DOM to push up, right? But you're up against the 200-day moving average, your reactors and whatnot. So I do think BTC DOM is going to fall. And the fact that something like Render is literally, I mean, it's following Bitcoin right now, but earlier there was a very clear delineation between how Render was acting compared to Bitcoin's drop here. Um, and so I do think that alts are going to detach themselves a lot quicker from BTC within the within like a few weeks. So, market dynamics is pointing out that you got this very big ascending channel. So very likely that you're gonna break to the downside from here. Yeah. So I think I really should reply to Desmond actually, but I know he brought up something like USDT.D. Uh, right now in the immediate term, I do agree that it's gonna head up, because your 12 hour, you're not overextended yet, and you're above your reactors. So I do think there is room for USDT to head up like the dominance. But then if you like zoom out to the 1 week, CPO plus and MVP ribbon is on its way down. So I do think eventually it will fall. Yeah. Yeah. So I agree with you that it is USDT.D within like a few weeks is probably next few weeks is probably gonna head up. I do think it's gonna head up, but I will say that overall, maybe like a couple months from now, maybe 2 months, I do think that it's gonna crash or it's gonna head down back to the bottom of the of this channel it's made. It's more of a rectangle than a channel, but yeah. Let's go back to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's already facing quite the resistance here at 90,500. So that was the premium here on the 5 minutes. Uh, but from a 1 hour perspective, it does still look okay. Granted, if this closes really weak, then this is just gonna keel over, and we're just gonna head down from there. Or we're gonna go back here, but I have faith that because our fluid zero line is so low, that we are going to at least push here, and that's when we can decide either to just do nothing and let it continue or short from here, because this does look like a decent place to short. I do think we sort of missed Tau a bit. Let's go back to Tau. Actually, didn't look at Tau. I mean, it's possible we missed Tau, right? Uh, yeah, that was really close. What was that? How far away was that? 1.38%. It was really close. To 66.14. But like I said earlier, Speezy, USDT.D could continue to the upside. And if it does continue to the upside, everything, including BTC, is going to fall back down. So even if this maybe gets back to this area, 250, it could just keel over and go back down to entry. But the fact is, you can argue that it has missed it because of this, right? You got your bullish div, peak bottom, reversal triangle, even ribbon transition. Or, it's gone. But that's sort of the folly of, or not folly? Is folly the right word? That's sort of the weakness of my contrarian trading styles, that sometimes we are likely to miss some of our entries. But, it is what it is. Ooh, renders falling back to 2.07, but that is the POC. So I'll just set an alert here. See if we might need to close that. But I am liking if we can hold on to the next 36 minutes. If we can sustain a higher close, that would be great. Because that means like a 4R engulfing with a nice wick or like a retest wick to the downside. So that means that you're going to continue pushing back up. Let's look at Bitcoin. So from a more macro perspective, right, we fell out of the ascending channel here. I mean, you can clean this up technically a little bit more, but what's important is you do have your bottom line here, and we are basically at the cusp of the line again. So last time we tried in the last 12 hours, we got rejected. We're trying again, but if we can get above it, then we're back into the channel, right? We've basically just faked out a fall from the channel back into the channel. But if not, then this is likely just a retest, and we're going to bounce off of it. So what that's going to look like is we break out of the channel, we retest the bottom line, see if it is truly a very strong point of resistance, then we break down. And if we break down, our targets are gonna look, well, points of where we want the points at which will face some level of support is gonna be here at the liquidity block. So the first one's gonna be 84 ish, right? If we continue back down, now this support line at 88 could hold, so I will put a white line there. Another one will be right over here, and then the next one's gonna be your discount at 81. Oh, you're very welcome, Renner. Yeah, thank you for dropping by. I appreciate it. The last time anyone from Chart Prime dropped by. Wait, no, actually, Digital LRS dropped by last time, and of course, Daga is always here. So thank you for always being here, Daga. I appreciate it so much. Uh, Actually, who else is in here? Hunter, welcome. Voicey, welcome as well. Yeah, thank you guys for dropping by. But yeah, the reason I do think that BTC could still head down is because your MVP ribbon, even if it says it's bottoming out, it still has room to go, and your CPO plus hasn't really shown that much weakness. Oh, it is showing a lot of weakness still. It's not oversold, and again, oversold, like I've said earlier, is not a condition for reversal, but it is a confluence for exhaustion. So the fact that we only have one, like an up reversal, that isn't enough for me to say that, or to me to rule out that we are headed down completely. There is still a chance we continue to head down. Renders falling. Okay, let's go back here. So Tau, ooh, not a good wick on the 1 hour. Ondo does look like a good trade, at least on the 1 day. If you've got such a big falling wedge like this, based it off the body of the candles, this does look like a good trade. So I think I'll announce this tonight, like after the stream. The 1 day is also showing like a weakening bearish strength, so it does look like we can re-enter Ondo. It was a good point to enter here, and then it should have closed completely, but we did take some profits at that level, and then now we're able to basically go down. Hey, NYSE-17, welcome. Thanks for dropping by. I'm Langestrom, and if you have any questions or coins that you want me to look at, just let me know. Yeah, promise I won't bite. But yeah, actually, let's look at SWI. It's been a while since I had a look at SWI, so looks like Bitcoin might fall below 90K again real quick. We are already at 90.41. Let's look at SWI. Okay, so he's right over here. So yeah, damn, that 1 hour is looking crazy. Bullish div, hidden bullish div, peak bottom. If that isn't confluence, I don't know what is. But yeah, okay. 5 minutes. So it does say that we kind of want to go back down to 1.5. Now we do have an entry for SWI, I think around the 1.3 region. Maybe we should look at a higher time frame just to see if that still holds any weight. Yeah, no, I get you. Like every time that I said, okay, we're reversal, this is a spot buy, it looked great for like 2 weeks and then it died. This market's really giving me trust issues. In fact, I've sort of trust issues with gold right now, right? I mean, I think it could do this for gold. Silver fell. Okay, silver did fall. Yeah, like it's such a odd time to be in, but it's fine. Like it's still, you can still navigate it. It's just Really, really weird and hard. But that's sort of the life of a trader. But yeah, let's go to the 1 day. Yeah, no, I'm not trusting it. So there, I mean, you still have a measured move. Um, where's that? Where's that measured move even from? Oh, you completed that already though. But okay, fine. But yeah, I mean, you still have an indication that you might want to go 1.26 on Sui. You aren't over. There's no confluence here that you're completely safe from any downside. So I'd still expect maybe a pushback down to 1.38, which is why we do have an entry around that region, um, in the channel, and then that's when I think we'd be ready to head back up to higher targets, back to our previous all-time high at about 5. But again, I do think Sui's gonna go back up. It's probably gonna break all-time highs, but I'm um not expecting more than, I think, 19. I think that's what I put in Sui. I've back last year. No, it's already 2026. So no, when did Sui break all-time highs? Was it January of 2025? Yeah, so it was last year. So imagine from oh my goodness, I used the word imagine. Imagine, but okay. I think only Renair's gonna get that, but okay. So just 1 year ago, January 6th, we hit all-time highs on Sui, and now we are down just a year later. We're down like 72% from there, right? It's kind of crazy to think that you could drop 72% in a year, right? And no, actually, if we take it from the top all the way down here, you dropped 90% in a year, right? But that's sort of the thing, is that if you can drop 90% in a year, you can pump thousands of percent in the same amount of time, right? This was August 2024. This was January 6th, 2025. You pumped 1,227% in half a year. So the fact of the matter is, if you can drop this much within that span of time, 274 days, it stands to reason that you can also pump that much in the span of another 200 days. Lol, it's going to zero. Everything's going to zero. If we're being, everything's going to go to zero. So let's look at Bitcoin again. So it's still above 90, which is interesting. But yeah, so I do think that we are likely to get some upside soon. So if we pull out our, I think this is the macro Elliott wave that we've been looking at for the past, I mean, it's not even past weeks, it's ever since October of last year. So what, 3 months? Oh man, I've been here 3 months already. I'm getting old. Yeah. Actually, I have a very funny story about my fresh, not my, was it my fresh, no, sophomore year in college, which was 2 years ago. I really liked to wear white polo shirts, and I think when I started out here, like I would always wear a white polo shirt. Obviously, I'm in clothing that's a little bit more comfy because I'm sick, but if I'm okay, you guys know that I always come in a polo shirt, right? And I was a sophomore, so for those who might not be completely familiar, that means I was a second year, and I was just wearing a white polo shirt. I was wearing slacks, and there were these freshmen, and they went up to me and they were like, "Sir, where's this blah 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 blah?" And I told them, and they just kept calling me sir, and I was so confused. I was like, "Do I really look like a professor?" And then, um, my worst fears were confirmed because a faculty asked me, "Oh, is this your next class?" And then they offered me the teacher's chair, and I was like, I'm a student." But okay, thank you. Yeah, this is my next class. I will be teaching Chinese. Yeah, Chinese. Yeah, CSP 101. So I'll be teaching CSP 101 today, for sure. I'll be teaching the people who want to learn Chinese how to count from 1 to 10 within the next 1 hour 30 minutes. But yeah. And what's worse is like there was a guy who lives in the same like apartment complex as my girl, and then I was helping my girl with something, and then the guy asked, "Oh, is this your dad?" to my girl, and then she was just laughing and she was calling me an old man throughout the elevator ride. I was so pissed. I was like, "You're older than me by a month, and here's him telling me that I'm your dad." Some, anyways, eh, okay, back to trading. You know, we still haven't closed the 1 week. There's 4 days, 9 hours. We have been on this trend line ever since uh 2023. So, we haven't fully gotten out of that trend, and we have broken below it a couple times, but we've managed to get above it. So, closing like this doesn't really scare me, but like two candle closes below it. So like if this closes here, then another candle closes here, then another candle closes there. That's kind of scary. That not scary, but that tells me that we're likely going to keel over. So again, we have our targets listed by the macro Elliott wave. So it's still possible that we get to our 618 or 1 week golden zone about 108, but we do have resistance starting from 105 because of your 200-day moving average. Now, we also have projections as low as 69, 746, 52, and 24,000. Now, as Dag and I mentioned yesterday, I don't really think that we're going to go down to 52 or 24. There's vested interests from institutions, from nations, and whatnot to keep Bitcoin at around this relative range. So, what's acceptable to them, or what's acceptable to them? I don't know. Maybe I should do some research on that. What would be an acceptable amount of depreciation? Is it depreciation? Value loss? What's the proper term for that? But anyways, what's the acceptable drawdown? Is it drawdown? But anyways, what is the acceptable amount of loss for something like the US for holding so much Bitcoin? Obviously, at 90,000, I don't think they'd like Bitcoin to drop to 20. That doesn't make sense because they accumulated around this point, right? They accumulated at least, if we're being conservative, around here at 80, 82 ish, right? So it doesn't make sense for the US to accumulate so much, or for something like um, token holding companies like MSTR, or what was the other one? Anyways, point is, there's vested interests by institutions and nations, literal nations, to make sure that Bitcoin doesn't drop to an unsatisfactory or unsavory point. So we don't know what that is, but only time will tell. So I do think that we are basically at a crossroads here. Do we want to head up to 108, face the golden zone, maybe make a head and shoulders, and then we short? Or are we going to go to this 618 at around 69,000? So I believe Runaire, you have like a projection of 74. I mean, Elliott wave theory seems to think that you go down to 69, maybe. I think it costs 74,000 for energy and resources per BTC right now, if I remember that correctly to mind. Really? Okay, so essentially they don't want to at least go below 74k. And if we do look here, right, our dynamic reactor, our liquidity block, our prime block, and our 3-day buy zone or bullish order block, they're all within this range. They're right above 74,000. So this area is going to just be a very strong support that I really don't think is going to break all too um, that quickly. Now, if you notice, if we do get to this point of an ascending channel and we break to the downside, then it's really going to be difficult to artificially keep this up. Please send me the link for Elliott Wave. Oh, hey Techwell, welcome. Who else is here? Okay, no. Hey Techwell, welcome, buddy. No, it's if you have TradingView Premium, I think you can just type Elliott Wave. It's this one by actually it's by TradingView itself. But let me see if I can send this to you. Copy link to solution. Let me just type this. But yeah, not sure if that's going to helpfully, but yeah, you can just type Elliott and then you can put it in. I think it's best to use it with higher time frames. It's really don't use it on lower time frames. So higher time frames, at least 12 hours or yeah, 12 hours. Maybe you can do 4 hour. So 12 hours and up, I would say, for Elliott Wave. Okay, we fell below 89. Let's look at render. Render's still pushing up. So yeah, this is what I was saying. Like some alts are really detaching a little bit from Bitcoin. So while Bitcoin is, let's go back to the Bitcoin chart. So yeah, BTC. So we still got 19 minutes. Gotta make the most of it. Okay, it's 5 hours. 5 minutes. Go back to 1 hour. So yeah, or you know what? Let's do 15 minutes to really get a nice view of whether or not BTC is acting. So red candle, followed by green. You can see that the performance of render relative to BTC currently is it's much better. At least from a candle aesthetic, from a candle structure perspective, because this move right here is a bigger sort of drop and the recovery is weaker compared to say render, who's literally just trying to get above the last wick. So it does prove that in terms of BTC dominance, while we are likely to head up, it is sort of in that slow move to the downside. All right, let's go back here. USDT.D is showing moves back to the upside, but right now, I mean, if you continue to close, if the next one's red, I think you go down here and then maybe go back up. But yeah, let's see. Okay, 17 minutes. Let's see if we can maybe get a scalp somewhere. Whew. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Let's see how Ondo's doing. Solana. All right. Doge. Actually, might want a long silver. Dumb question. What's the very bottom indicator? I have it removed. Yeah, NYSE. It's the MVP oscillator. So thank you, Little Fish, for helping out. I wasn't able to spot the message quickly, but essentially, I just have the Pro. It's also on the Pro Plus, but you can just select which oscillator you want. MVP oscillator is slightly different from the Prime oscillator because it's more focused on momentum. So for me, I find it's more useful than say the MACD because with MACD you're not really able to gauge extension as much, right? You're kind of just waiting to see if um, the histogram like falls, right? At least here you're able to gauge extension and whether or not momentum's overextended in one direction. And if you combine that with a short moving, short, a simple moving average with a length of 144, you're able to then get something like a dynamic line that allows you to see where momentum bounce. So if you look, right, you got to bounce around here, and you can see that momentum bounce off of that point off the fluid zero line. So whenever it comes in contact with this white line, it's basically a matter of, okay, will it continue with its current trend or is it going to break below it? If it does break below it, then you get something like this, right? Nice push, you got to push up. You did break above it, but then you quickly got below it, and then now you're doing the same thing. So here, for example, you would be able to analyze this as a rejection at this point, and then anything below this fluid zero line is like overall bearish. So that's essentially how I use mine. So if we look at gold, we can see that the fluid zero line is really headed up, and the more or the closer it is to the top, the more likely momentum is to fall. So the last time we got to the top here, I mean, we bounced off it, but we couldn't really sustain that move, and then we continued to drop, just like that. So yeah, it's a good render. Render's really pushing up. What are the green vertical lines in MVP? Yeah, it's a 144 SMA. So to answer your question, Shell, this is the English. These are bottoming bars. So essentially uh they're another point of confluence that lets you or it basically tells you whether or not momentum is bottoming out or getting exhausted to the downside. So you can see that over here, for example, you got bottoming bars at this point. So the MVP ribbon is telling you that price action is bottoming out, essentially, or that momentum is bottoming out. So you can see that the more points that you get bottoming bars, the likely you are to get a reversal. Now, it's not 100% going to work all the time, but you can see that they are pretty darn accurate. Like when you see them, you're likely to get some sort of relief, some sort of bounce. They're not guaranteed, but they are very useful for that instance. So, for example, we can look over here where it wasn't really a guarantee that we were going to go up because eventually when we got that relief, we still continued to go down, right? Another instance is over here. You got your bottom blah, blah, blah. You got your bottoming bars early. I love the consonants because it's B, right? If it's alliteration if it's foul. Shoot, what is my English? Anyways, you can see that you got bottoming bars at this point, but you still continue to the downside, and then that's when you got your reversal. So the bottoming bars are just there to help you gauge whether or not momentum's dying, and so at this point, this momentum right here wasn't really that significant relative to basically the drop earlier, but it did tell you that the move was exhausting and you're very likely going to get some sort of bounce. So when you see those green bars, it just tells you move's exhausted. Let's let's see that bounce happen soon. So yeah. Excuse me. The monthly, I think does Bitcoin even have a significant monthly? But I think I have to use spot Binance to look at the monthly with any meaningful confluence. Yeah, that's really meaningful. I find it funny that the chick magnet on the monthly for Bitcoin. Oh no, this is 12 month. Oopsie. But the 12 month says that we want to go down to negative 200. I don't know, 238. Like it wants to go to zero. Very fun. Okay, 1 month. Yeah, here. Yeah, thank you, Daga. This is actually useful. So this is what's great about the bottoming bar. So you did essentially get a lot of them, and you headed up, right? Now, if we go to the 1 week, we can also see where these bottoming bars. Yeah. This is Binance 1 week. Yep. Yeah, there's still not enough data, or there are no bottoming bars, but we did get oversold over here. Got a 1,000% move, and then you're now getting oversold here. Conditions are sort of similar as well. You can see when we went oversold, we didn't have that much data, but we are at that point where we're going back all the way down to the lower extremity, and then we could continue pushing to the lower extremity or continue going lower in terms of price action, but momentum is diverging and we're able to basically get above. So Bitcoin back above 90,000. Render still pushing up. I think this is the highest render's been for us throughout the process of that trade. So it's pretty good trade. If we, I should probably set an alert. 2.18. That was my first take profit, and SL to BE from there, and I think that would be a pretty decent place to. Was it 2.18 or 2.2? In any case, should probably check again. Let me grab my fib retracement. Just boop, 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 boop. Oh, so we're going to the platinum pocket soon, by the looks of it. Yeah. Let's just leave that there for now. Okay. Back to Bitcoin. This is not. Oh, this is chart prime live. So. Knock P. Blowfin. Back to 5 minutes, 1 hour. Really, you don't know much about candles? Crazy. The Dagger DT doesn't know that much about candles. I'm buying it 100%. Don't know about you, but I'm buying it. I'm buying the narrative. Okay, let's see who else is here. Hey, Percival369, welcome. Uh, yeah, there's 6 minutes left on the show, so for anyone still in the stream, if you guys have any questions or things you want me to look at, just let me know. I mean, we also have Runair over here, so you guys can ask him live for questions and whatnot. Yeah. Oh, my back. The one thing I can say proudly that I am old is because I have a terrible back. For 21-year-old. Uh, Probably shouldn't be proud about that though. Which is funny because I've had a terrible back even though I was an athlete back in high school. Like, terrible back ever since. Okay, let's look at gold. I mean, damn. Even if you shorted that, that's not that useful. Maybe very. No. Uh, if it makes you feel younger, I have, I have grand nieces, so I have like three grand nieces, and I've got a grand nephew. So, if that makes you feel a little younger, I mean, I hope it does. I'm so sorry, Uncle Pips. Uh, don't worry. I'm I have like four different kids calling me the equivalent of grandpa as a 21-year-old. If that makes you feel better, yeah. I'm being real about that too. Yeah, actually, I can probably. I know. Maybe I can, because so long as I keep it in chat, um, the recording won't see me show my grand nieces and nephews. Let me just find a photo of them. It's been a while. It's probably 2020. No, it's probably 2024. Oh no. Or was it 2023? Damn. Oh yeah, I think it was 2023. Yeah, so these are my grand nieces, and the boy in the middle is my grand nephew. And then uh I got another grandies recently, like literally just born a few months ago, I think. So yeah, and such a grandpa way of being like, oh yeah, these are my grandkids. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if that makes you feel younger. Uh, but yeah, I hope it did. Yeah, let's look at render. Render's kind of failing, but we'll see. Bitcoin's still trying. Um, and you are getting that ribbon transition on the 5 minutes, so I think we're likely to hit 91, between 92 and 91.6 within the next 2 hours. But yeah. Yeah, it's just one more minute before the show ends. So if there's anyone who has like any last minute questions, just let me know. All right. So looks like we got our 4 hour close. Let's see how render closed before I end the show. Render closed really strong here on the 4 hour, and I do think that means that we do get like a tiny retest wick at the top, but this render trade is going to continue to head up because of that just massive engulfing 4 hour candle. So with that said, um, that is it for today's show. Thank you guys for joining me. Again, I am feeling better, so next week, Tuesday, we're looking at a 1 hour 30-minute show. Then Wednesdays will always be 2 hour shows moving forward. Thank you, Runer, for dropping by. I appreciate it a ton. Uh, yeah, thank you guys for dropping by as well. I do appreciate it so much. I'll be posting this as soon as I can, so I have to lower the file size and then I'll post it um, into our live recording class. But with that said, I'm Langstrom. Thank you all for joining me today. I will see you next week, and don't forget to always use a stop loss. So thank you guys. I'll see you. Bye.